could unlock a story that stretches from the Great Depression to World War II and into the very soul of American coinage design. What if I told you that the 1939 Jefferson nickel is more than just an old piece of metal? It is a treasure chest of numismatic mysteries filled with rare varieties, striking errors, and a legacy tied to the most important eras in United States history. This is not just another nickel, this is a chapter. In America's economic, the United States Mint pressed the first 1939 nickel into existence. It became a symbol of Thomas Jefferson's lasting influence, and an answer to a new era of coin design led by sculptor Felix Schlag. But it's what lies beneath the surface that makes this coin a subject worthy of deep historical exploration hidden inside. This year are multiple mint marks, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each with its own rarity levels and secrets. There's the 1939 reverse of 1940, an unusual design anomaly that made its way into circulation by accident. And then there's the infamous, most coveted and mysterious nickels in American coinage. This video will uncover how wartime economy, politics, and post-depression innovation collided to create this 5-cent marvel. We will dive into the origin of the Jefferson Nickel series, why it replaced the Buffalo nickel, and what drove the U.S. Mint to embrace modernized design. We will explore how the sculptor Felix Schlag originally submitted a Monticello design that was rejected and had to be redone, and how his name did not appear on the coin until years later, despite being its original artist. We will trace the different die varieties and errors that turned this nickel into one of the most hotly pursued coins among collectors, from full steps, 2-week strikes from the reverse of 1938 to the reverse of 1940. We will not leave any detail behind. As we travel back to 1939, we'll investigate the state of the nation, the condition of the mint, and how this coin reflected the national mood during the brink of war. You will hear about how minting techniques changed how coin collecting exploded during the late 1930s, and how one nickel became the foundation for modern numismatics. By the end of this video, you will understand why the 1939 Jefferson Nickel isn't just. So sit back, grab your collection, and get ready for a 2-hour masterclass in U.S. coin history as we peel back every layer of the 1939 Jefferson Nickel, from its roots to its rise in numismatic fame. Because here at Valuable Coins History, we don't just talk coins, we tell their stories. And the story of the 1939 Jefferson Nickel is one you will never forget. The heart of American coinage history, the year 1939, stands as a monumental moment for numismatists and coin collectors alike, because it gave birth to one of the most complex, fascinating, and collectible nickels ever released by the United States. Mint the 1939 Jefferson, artistic struggle, minting challenges, and global unrest. And to understand the true value of this nickel, we must travel back in time to the early 1930s, when the United States was still in the shadow of the Great Depression. The nation was desperate for revival and stability, both economically and symbolically at the time. The Buffalo nickel had been in circulation since 1913, and although beloved by many, its design had proven difficult to strike cleanly and consistently, and by the late 1930s, the U.S. Mint saw an opportunity to modernize its coinage and honor one of the most foundational figures in American history. Thomas Jefferson. In 1938, the Mint announced a competition for a new nickel design. It required artists to present an obverse with Jefferson's portrait and a reverse featuring his home, Monticello. More than 390 artists entered the contest, but only one was chosen: Felix Schlag, a German-born American sculptor who had immigrated to the United States in the 1920s and found himself competing for more than just prestige. The country was looking for a refreshed, but not without challenges. His original depiction of Monticello was architecturally accurate, but considered too artistic for coinage, and he was required to alter it to fit mint preferences. And even after his work was accepted, his name would not appear on the coin until decades later. And so in late 1938, the Mint began striking the first Jefferson nickels, and by 1939, they were in full production, using the newly accepted designs. Introduction of two reverse designs, one that mirrored the 1938 version, known as the reverse of 1938, and one that featured sharper steps and more refined details, called the reverse of 1940. However, both types were struck in 1939, creating an unusual variety situation where collectors must inspect the steps of Monticello To know which type they have, the major difference lies in the steps at the bottom of Monticello. On the reverse side of the coin, the reverse of 1938 has blurry, undefined steps, while the reverse of 1940 displays interest among collectors, especially those chasing what is known as full steps, designation in coin grading circles where 5 or 6 full steps indicate a sharply struck coin with great detail clarity and higher value, but this is only one layer of the 1939 story. During this same year, the mint produced coins from 3 different locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins had no mint mark, the Denver coins bore a small D, and the San Francisco coins carried an S. Each mint had different production volumes, but what makes the Denver issue particularly important is the presence of a major overmint mark variety, the 1939 D over S or D over horizontal. S is a minting error that occurred when a die initially intended for the San Francisco mint was repurposed for use in Denver, resulting in a coin that shows evidence of both mint marks. This error went unnoticed by the general public for years, but when it was discovered, it became one of the most desired Jefferson Nickel varieties in all of numismatics, especially in higher grades. This error illustrates how the U.S. Mint was reusing and modifying dies during a period of tight resources and wartime preparation, adding further historical weight to the coin. It is worth noting that even though the United States had not yet entered World War II, the world was already shifting dramatically, and the Jefferson Nickel series would eventually be impacted too during the wartime years when nickel was removed from the coin due to its military importance. But before that came to pass, the 1939 nickel reflected the last calm before the storm in terms of production, as it still contained the full 75% copper and gave the coin its distinctive color, durability, and weight, making it both practical for circulation and ideal for long-term preservation. As collectors began to take interest in these coins, they noticed striking inconsistencies, especially in the Denver and San Francisco mint issues. The Denver mint, in particular, was notorious for weak strikes that made full steps extremely rare, making the 1939 D full steps nickel one of the most sought-after modern nickels ever graded by NGC and PC, where top-grade specimens can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. This isn't just hype, it's rooted in tangible grading challenges and historical rarity. San Francisco also produced relatively low quantities of the 1939 S issue, finding them in uncirculated condition a challenge in its own right, and so each mint location provides its own level of scarcity, an opportunity for collectors to explore and compare beyond the errors and varieties. The Jefferson Nickel of 1939 holds deeper symbolic value because it represents a shift from old-world design to modern numismatic art, replacing the rugged naturalism of the Buffalo nickel with the clean, structured, and neoclassical look of Jefferson and Monticello. It represented a return to Enlightenment ideals, to reason architecture, democracy, and stability, all themes that Jefferson himself would have endorsed in his vision of America. This cultural shift in design speaks volumes about where the country saw itself going. As it neared the 1940s, it's not just a design choice, it's a historical statement. Fast forward to the modern day, and the 1939 Jefferson Nickel continues to capture attention from collectors, historians, and investors alike. Its reverse design, split, its mint mark varieties, its overmint errors, and its scarcity in top condition make it a prime example of how a simple everyday coin can become a cornerstone of numismatic study and collecting strategy. Those who hunt the 1939 D with full they hold something few others possess, and those who appreciate the story of Felix Schlag understand how art and history merged into metal in a time of economic recovery and international uncertainty. This is why the 1939 Jefferson Nickel is not just another coin, it is a collector's time machine, a relic that tells a story of a sculptor, an era, a minting system, and a nation in transition. Its edges carry the weight of decades, its steps carry the spirit of a new design, philosophy, and its varieties carry the passion of every collector who has ever studied its details, valued its rarity.